Colombia hosted the Road to Amazon Summit this weekend. Presidents of Colombia and Brazil attended the final day, along with ministers from a half-dozen countries that share the Amazon rainforest. Michelle Beguer has more.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro and Brazilian President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva are in the Colombian city of Leticia for the final day of the Road to the Amazon Summit. The summit that started Thursday and ended Saturday is a technical scientific meeting. Participants included environmental ministers from the 8 countries that make up the Amazon biome, that includes the rainforest and other ecoregions. Also in attendance were different participants from non-government agencies, scientists, and citizens, all working to stop deforestation.
We thought development was to bring down these forests and turn these lands into cattle ranching plains, and that this would bring progress. That progress was the destruction of the trees, and those trees were bad weeds. Today, that is destruction of life.
Colombia's foreign minister spoke of the country's commitment to a different type of economic development based on protecting the rights of the environment and the cultures in the territory.
The Amazon cooperation should propel a development of the territory based on the water and in taking advantage of opportunities generated by potential bioeconomies and sustainable tourism, and turning away from illicit economies.
Recent studies published by the Climate Action Initiative say the Amazon rainforest is near a tipping point, meaning deforestation could reach a point of no return, where most of its vegetation would be lost and cause a regional climate collapse that will affect the entire planet.
We need to unite efforts and forces directly involved in international discussions, and our voice needs to be heard with force in conferences about climate, biodiversity, desertification, discussions, and in debates about sustainable development.
These efforts are a prelude to Brazil hosting the Amazon Summit in the city of Belém. The summit will mark the 45th anniversary of the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization formed by the 8 Amazonian countries. Michelle Beguer, CGTN, Bogotá.
To discuss this topic, Paul Bledsoe joins us. He's an Energy Fellow and Strategic Advisor at the Progressive Policy Institute. Great to have you on the program, Paul. Now, Lula took office in January and vowed to reverse policies of his far-right predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro. Is this evidence of that promise, being able to scale back the deforestation?
I think it is. It's clear that President Lula truly is worried that the Amazon, which after all is the world's lungs, the most important source of oxygen into the atmosphere and the most important sink to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere in the world. Lula recognizes that this is a global resource of tremendous importance to overall climate protection. So he has put forward a series of proposals to prevent new roads, new cattle development, new mining that Bolsonaro did not. So this is very important that Lula is in power now. But what has to happen is the world's leaders need to recognize that a healthy Amazon forest is crucial to a healthy global climate. The Amazon is at a tipping point. It's almost as if the lungs of the world have gotten emphysema, and yet we still are allowing them to smoke cigarettes. That's what we're doing to this lungs of the world that is the Amazon rainforest. So global leaders need to help Brazil and the other basin nations with financing and other efforts to protect this resource, which is crucial to the global climate stability, not just that in South America.
And I think Lula is trying to push the world's richest nations to pay for various initiatives, in fact, that are aimed at saving the rainforest. Can you tell us a little bit about what these initiatives entail, and perhaps some more conservative opposition leaders or leaders might consider, you know, that it's not fair to ask world leaders to pay for Brazil's mistakes, even if it was from prior governments?
Yeah, it's a complicated issue. It's a good point, Sally. 2 things worth mentioning. One is that nations that have high levels of debt from the international banks can get reductions in that debt, agreements to reduce the debt based on their ability to protect their forests. This is true throughout the world, but especially acute in the Amazon rainforest. That's true of Brazil and the other Amazon basin nations. But we need to do even more than that. At the Progressive Policy Institute, we proposed an alliance for clean trade that would put a global price on emissions, imports from countries that have very high emissions, like China, which has high emissions intensity. And so we've got to create both a funding mechanism for to prevent deforestation, but we also have to create a global trade transition which puts a price on emissions intensity. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to reduce global emissions, and that's what we need to do.
All right, Paul Bledsoe, thanks so much for your insight and your time.